Hey everyone, Templar74 here with the annual mid-year Q&A for 2018, hashtag AskTemplar74. Hard to believe we're already in the middle of 2018, isn't it? This year has just been so crazy busy and chaotic, more than most in these last few years, but that's a discussion for another time. Anyway, before I answer your guys' questions, I do want to take a second to say a few things. First of all, I want to thank you guys for your patience and understanding in the first half of this year. Things got crazy with this channel. I ended up having to start up the backup channel for fear that this channel was going to sink. And I do want to thank you guys for not only bearing with me during these times, but also for liking and subscribing the videos both on this channel and the new channel, the backup channel rather. And of course, all this new stuff that's come out, it's really helped the channel. I believe as I'm speaking right now, we are just barely shy of 3,000 subscribers. I think we're within like 50 of them at this point. But anyway, that point aside, regardless, I want to thank you guys for liking and subscribing and all your guys' support. You guys are all awesome. Here's to the second half of 2018 being a lot better than the first. I think that will happen. Things have settled down quite a bit, and yeah, again, I want to thank you guys for all your patience and understanding. With that being said, I'm getting ready to answer your guys' questions, and just so you guys know, normally when I do the end of year Q&A, I answer your guys' questions from first to last, and during the mid-year, just to mix it up, I go from bottom to top. So these questions are coming from the comment section of the announcement video, starting at the bottom and working its way up. I hope you guys bear with me as I answer all your guys' questions. Really look forward to it. So, without further ado, let's get to answering some of your questions. Okay, the first set of questions we got is from Sarah Hardwick, and as of recording this video, it looks like you got these questions in just about 30 minutes ago, and you actually go on to say that you were glad you were able to make it in time like I did before. And your questions are, what is your favorite Yu-Gi-Oh! Summoning method? What are your thoughts on Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon? Don't recall you ever mentioning them. I didn't? I find that hard to believe. And then your third question, just curious, what is the hardest part about your job? So Sarah, I'm going to go ahead and answer your questions. First of all, what is your favorite Yu-Gi-Oh! Summoning method? If we're talking about the anime, it's got to go to fusion summoning. In the anime, fusion summoning is just the most OP summoning method you can have, and when you see fusion summon, you know stuff is about to get real. If we're talking about the actual trading card game, my favorite summoning method would probably have to go to XYZ summoning, XYZ summon. It's easier as a mechanic in the card game, and the real XYZ summoning in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card game is treated a lot better than the anime's XYZ summoning, I gotta be honest. So yeah, anyway, favorite summoning method in anime, gotta be fusion. In the actual trading card game, it's got to go to XYZ summoning. Okay, and for your second question, what were my thoughts on Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon? And I think my thoughts are essentially the same as everybody's that I've talked to. Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon was definitely an upgrade. They fixed a lot of things from the original Sun and Moon games, but was it really worth all the hype it got? I'm not sold on that. The two things I was looking forward to the most in Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon was, of course, the journeys into Ultra Space, the Ultra Megatropolis, and of course Rainbow Team Rocket, and those two things kind of really got the shaft. And something that really irritated me was they watered Lusamine down. In Sun and Moon, Lusamine was actually arguably the best villain that had ever been written for Pokemon. And in Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, they watered her down, and it didn't sit right with me. But they did manage to fix some things and go the general direction that I would prefer as far as difficulty level. By no means is Pokemon ever a hard game, but still, it was making steps in the right direction. So, overall, Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon were good. They were definitely upgrades, and were they better than the original Sun and Moon? I'm not going to go that far. Were they definitely worth all the hype they got and paying the extra $40 per game to play it? It probably would have just been better if it was a download on the eShop, in my opinion. But anyway, yeah. Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon were alright. Still not as good as the original Sun and Moon games, in my opinion, but still pretty good. And then, Sarah, to answer your third question, what is the hardest part about my job? And people ask me that all the time. In fact, I worked and did a career day thing last school year for the local high school. And I always say the hardest part about my job is when people call you and you're going to somebody that's called for you, they are having the worst possible day of their life. Some of them are at the brink of death. Some of them are already dead by the time you get there, and you have to sit there and you have to console the family. Death is really something that you really see a little bit too much of, and the circumstances behind it, they vary, and they vary from intensity. So that's got to be the hardest part of the job, is just the emotional toll of trying to remain professional and not let this bother you, but at the same time, I mean, it's never a fun thing when somebody dies. But anyway, even with that, it's not all doom and gloom. As a paramedic, I do get to see some lighter moments. In fact, I think it was 2 weeks ago now, maybe 3, I did get my first stork pin as a paramedic, and for you guys that don't know what a stork pin is, a stork pin, you're given that when you're in emergency medicine, when you help deliver a baby out in the field. So yeah, the hardest part about my job has definitely got to be the death angle, but at the same time, you also get the satisfaction of being there for people on their worst days, and yeah, even welcoming a new life into the world every once in a while. It's just an amazing gambit of what I see. But anyway, Sarah, I hope that answered your questions. And again, thank you for liking and subscribing. Okay, next up, Chris Herndon. And you go on to say your first 3 questions, or your 3 questions rather. And your first one is, do I think in Alternative Gun Gale Online we will see a battle with a team of Lyn, Pitahui, Im, and Fuka working together? Second, what is your favorite Yu-Gi-Oh opening and ending from the entire series? And third, just for a change from anime questions, what was the strangest thing you've seen at work this year? Okay, Chris, good questions. First of all, your Alternative Gun Gale Online question on whether we would see a team of Lyn, Pitahui, Im, and Fuka working together. And I got to be honest, I could see them doing that at the end of the series. Like, say, after the second squad jam, which is still going on, Lyn manages to kill Pitahui and ultimately save her. The fulfillment of their promise. I could definitely see the last few episodes of the series, or this season rather, new tournament with the 4 of these guys working together as a team. And I got to say, if the four of them teamed up, they would be almost unstoppable. Maybe even going so far as to say unstoppable, period. These 4 are just crazy with their dynamics, but they all are diehard gamers, and they know what to do and how to get it done in the most efficient way possible. So, yeah, I could totally see them doing that at the end of this season, or series rather. Whether that actually happens or not, I guess we'll have to wait and see. But I do think it is very possible. Okay, Chris, your second question. What is your favorite Yu-Gi-Oh opening and ending from the entire series? So, Yu-Gi-Oh opening, favorite one. It's actually a tie. And the tie is between Eyes, the final Duel Monsters opening in the Japanese version, and the newest opening of Yu-Gi-Oh! Vrains, the second opening, Go Forward. I love both of those openings. They're in my head. They're on repeat. They're on my MP3 player on my phone. I think I listen to both of them at least once a day now. It's just, these openings are just so good. And the Yu-Gi-Oh! Vrains opening, how it was edited and how it looks, it was so good. That's all I can say. So that for the opening, it's definitely a tie between the Duel Monsters opening, Eyes, the final one, and the Vrains second opening. And as far as ending goes, again, I gotta say it's a tie, but it's I think this one is actually a 3-way tie. My favorite ending of Yu-Gi-Oh! As far as the ending song for the entire series has got to go to the final ending of Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5, Pendulum Beat, and of course the other Arc 5 opening, and for the life of me I just spaced out on the name. It's the one that plays at the end of the duel between Reggie and Yuya. For the life of me, that just slipped my mind what the name of it was. But those two are definitely my favorite endings from Arc 5. And then, I gotta say it again, GX also had a really good ending with Wake Up Your Heart. I loved that ending. And actually, I guess no, it'd be more of a four-way tie, because I'm also really partial to Password, the new ending for Vrains. So if you ask me that, I'd say a four-way tie between those four endings. Two of them being from Arc 5, one of them being from Vrains, and the last one being from GX. So anyway, Chris, I hope that answers your question on what was my favorite Yu-Gi-Oh! Opening and ending. And your third question, what was the strangest thing I've seen at work this year? Now, again, echoing off of Sarah's answer, one of the hardest things you see at work for me as a paramedic is death. But sometimes you just get these things where you show up and you're like, oh great, somebody is dead. But you get there and there's obviously a higher power at work here, because I could not understand it. My chief could not understand it. And the doctors at the hospital could not understand this. We had a car earlier this year. It was a multiple rollover, and the guy was still alive. He was bleeding out pretty good, and also had some brain matter coming out of a wound in his head. And yet he was still awake, still talking to me, still knew who the president was, what day of the week it was able to tell me everything. And it was just one of those things where I'm like, how is that possible? How is that possible, guy? A, you're bleeding real good, and two, your brain is literally oozing out onto me, and you are still talking to me. How is this possible? I do not know. Even the docs at the hospital were stumped, because we got him there, and they're like, really? How is this possible? Again, just a higher power, I guess. So anyway, Chris, those are my answers to your question. Definitely the strangest thing I've seen at work this year. Again, thank you for liking and subscribing, Chris, and I hope I answered your questions. Okay, next up is Kaito Link 64. And your questions are, you know that I'm an SAO fan. Have I ever wanted to or watch Hack series? It preceded SAO and started the whole MMORPG anime trend. I would recommend Legend of Twilight as your first series. Then your second question is, other than Nintendo games, what else has kept your gaming interest? Anything like Crash, Bandicoot, Spyro the Dragon, Final Fantasy, Castlevania, or whatever. And then your final question is, do I think Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee will affect Ash's journey in Alola? Okay, so your first question, have I ever watched the Hack series? Yes, I have, and it was very enjoyable, really enjoyed it, and I think that's actually what got me hooked and peaked on SAO, because I watched that, and then somebody, at first I had no intentions of ever watching Sword Art Online SAO, but then I found the Hack series and watched it, and then when I heard what Hack was about, and after I watched it, and heard that SAO was kind of in that genre, I decided to watch SAO and was hooked on it just as much as Hack series. And The Legend of Twilight, I have not seen that one, so I guess it's a little too late for it to be the first series, but I should definitely check that out, I guess. Okay, number 2, your second question. Other than Nintendo games, what else has kept your gaming interest? Okay, so other games other than Nintendo that have piqued my gaming interest. Now, I'm a Nintendo fan. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to be biased. I am a Nintendo fan. But I also have played other series on different systems, and I've also played different games on Nintendo systems. I got to say Smash Brothers is up there. Donkey Kong is another big one as far as Nintendo goes. Going off of Nintendo on PlayStation, Grand Theft Auto has been kind of a fun one for me, and I play that every once in a while. Spyro was big for me too back in the day. You know, that's kind of dating myself a little bit. Really glad that Spyro is getting a redo on the new PlayStation format. And yeah, those are pretty much other games that have piqued my interest and series that have kept my gaming interests at heart. Again, I also play a little bit of Magic. I'm really big into the trading card game for Yu-Gi-Oh! So yeah, quite a bit of things that run the gaming gambit for me, in my opinion. And of course, the SAO genre on PlayStation. You gotta check those out. I've been playing those on my PlayStation, and they are really, really good in my opinion. Okay, and to answer your final question, Kaito Link 64, do I think Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee will affect Ash's journey in Alola? Short answer, no. I don't expect it to affect it at all, because basically it's already been confirmed that it's a spin-off game, a side game based off of Pokemon Go, and yeah, so I don't see it having any impact on Ash's journey in Alola at all, except for maybe the possibility of doing something when he gets done in Alola and gets back to Kanto, maybe as a brief filler before Gen 8. That's really the only thing I could see, and even that is highly unlikely. And I mean, come on, Pikachu and Eevee are promoted literally in every single anime series. They've already done it in Alola, so I don't really see Let's Go Pikachu or Let's Go Eevee adding anything extra onto that, except maybe a brief arc at the end of Sun and Moon before we go into Gen 8, if at all. I think that's probably all we would get. So anyway, Kaito, thanks for liking, subscribing, and supporting, and I hope I answered your questions. Okay, next up is Jessica Friedman. And you asked me one simple question. Do I think if Serena comes back, will her and Ash talk about the kiss? Now, I said this in a previous discussion. I think it was the last PokeTalk discussion I did on the backup channel. I could see, if Serena returned, I could see it being done again at the end of Sun and Moon, like right when Ash gets back into Kanto. I could see those two meeting up briefly for a little bit in Kanto. And as far as to answer your question, if that does happen, which I'm still supporting it happening, whether it does or not, I don't know. I really do think that's something too big not for them to discuss. Now, do I think it's going to go into a whole lot of detail about it? Highly unlikely. It is Pokemon, and I do think that the kiss and that was specifically done just for Ash and Serena. I don't think it'll ever be done again. And so, yeah, to answer your question, I think it's too big of a thing for them not to bring up if they do reunite in Kanto for a little while at the end of Sun and Moon. But again, we'll have to wait and see if that actually happens. Okay, and again, Jessica, thank you for liking and subscribing, and I hope I answered your questions. Okay, next up is Rex123, and you asked me, again, just one single question. Do I think Serena will return at the end of the Sun and Moon anime? I think I just answered that with Jessica's question, Rex. If it does happen, which, again, I would support it happening by all means. If it did, great. If it doesn't, well, you know, it's a missed opportunity. If it does happen, I think it will happen at the end of Sun and Moon, again, in a brief Kanto arc before Gen 8. I could see that happening, and really, as of right now, that is the only way I could see that happening. Would it happen? I would support it if it did. I think a lot of people would. Whether it does or not, I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. So anyway, Rex, I hope that answers your question. Again, thank you for liking and subscribing. Okay, next up is Daramark 36, and I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name, Daramark, or Daramic, rather. I guess that'd be more correct. But anyway, I apologize if I'm mispronouncing that. And your questions to me are, when are Pokemon reviews going to start? Missing your voice in which you give review, smiley face. And your second question is, any date have you fixed on which that anime review of animes you've watched till now, and which all anime you have completed till now? Okay, so to answer your first question, the Pokemon reviews are a mixed bag. I did fully intend on doing them until the Show Pro incident happened, where just about every single PokeTuber got wiped right off YouTube within like the span of like 5 hours. We lost KG, we almost lost Entity, we almost lost Chornik, we almost lost Tyrone, we almost lost JPR, we lost Dane. So yeah, a lot of PokeTubers fell victim that day, and we lost almost 90% of the anime PokeTuber community within the span of about 5 hours. It was crazy that day, and everybody was in full panic mode about what would happen. After it died down, I did fully intend on redoing the Pokemon anime episode reviews, but Sun and Moon, as I said in a previous discussion, it's a different series. I'm not saying it's a bad series. I'm not saying it's a good series. It just doesn't pique my interest as much as past Pokemon series have. And as a result, I'm not as excited to do weekly reviews. And not only that, I guess the main answer to your question, more than everything, the overarching answer, basically ask Entity Maze why. He still does the reviews, and I enjoy them. I try to catch them as quick as I can. But Entity is seemingly having the same problem with Show Pro that all of us did, as to where half of his reviews aren't even live for a day and they're already taken down. And so that's a lot of time and effort and willingness to do videos, put in the work to put them up, and then you lose all your work within a few minutes. It's kind of shying me away from doing annual or weekly reviews, rather. I do plan, like, during the big arcs, I have done brief reviews on the arcs that aren't really long. I suppose I could start doing those on YouTube at some point. But right now, with the whole thing of Show Pro apparently having a bee up their bonnet and not wanting any criticism at all, yeah, I really don't think the weekly reviews are going to start up again anytime soon. Although I still will discuss Pokemon topics on the backup channel, I just don't think weekly anime reviews are going to be feasible anymore for me, in my opinion. Okay, and your second question. Any date that I have fixed on that anime review video? Now, I did say in my channel update video that I did a few weeks ago that I did plan on doing that in mid-June, or mid-July rather. Mid-June I said Q&A, but mid-July was the rough time frame where I've estimated that, and I still intend to stay within that time frame. There are still a few shows that I need to finish, and of course working all this overtime right now because of school the past school year. It's been hard to get all of them watched, but I still intend on making that mid-July deadline, probably the week of the 8th through the 14th, or maybe the 15th through the 21st. At the latest, the last week of July is what I've set on. But again, I need to finish a couple more series first. I've only got like 5 or 6 episodes left, but it's getting harder and harder to find the time to do that. So I'm going to try to get those finished, and I'm going to try to stick to that mid-July deadline as much as possible, at the very latest the last week of July. And so Daramic, ugh, I cannot believe I keep messing that up. I am so sorry. Anyway, I hope I answered your questions, and again, that's what I think as far as time frame. Again, thank you for liking and subscribing, man. You're awesome. I enjoy our conversations on Twitter a lot. Okay, so Daramic's questions are answered. Hey, I finally got it. I'm sorry, Daramic. Anyway, next up is John Eskow, and your questions are as followed. First off, if I had 3 hopes for the Gen 8 anime for Pokemon, I'm assuming, what would you want to see? I can pick from art style, a character return, anything like that. Your second question is, what are my top 5 features I want to see come back for Gen 8? I'm assuming the games, and I'm assuming Pokemon again. And third and finally, what are the 5 characters you want to see in Smash Bros. Switch? You pick 1 character for each franchise that form a Nintendo character and third party. Okay, so John, to answer your first question, 3 hopes for Gen 8 anime, although they aren't likely or realistic at all. First of all, the anime art style. I would really be thrilled if they went back to the XY and the black and white anime style. I just think it was cleaner, in my opinion. It was more anime-like, and it was not as, what would be a polite word to put this? Stimulating, to be polite. I don't think it would be as stimulating, and I really would like to see him go back to that. Whether that actually happens or not, I don't think it'll happen. Very unlikely, but I really wish it would. As far as the character return, I keep saying this, and I keep saying it again. I don't understand what... Well, I kind of understand to the point where the anime advertises the game, but they've had 20 years worth of anime characters. It would not kill Pokemon to reuse some of them for a generation. It would not kill them at all. It just would have to be worked out differently. As far as a character return, I would personally, and again, this is my own opinion, when the quote-unquote leaks that turned out to not be correct came out for Sun and Moon, there was speculation that we would possibly see a party of Lily, Ash, Serena, and Gary. Something like that would actually be perfectly fine with me. And if they wanted to emphasize Gen 1, I think that would be perfect. Bring back in Gary and Ash, who are based on Red and Blue. Of course, bring back the success of things in the past, such as Serena and Amore shipping. Bring that back in for viewership. And then, Lily... Yeah, Lily was arguably the best written character out of Sun and Moon. And I don't think anybody would deny that. Even the games, I mean, from the game perspective, she was the best written. And I think her and Serena's characters would click. And that's why I was kind of excited for that. And my hopes and dreams were smashed when that got smashed. But anyway, yeah, so those would definitely be two things that I would change. As far as hopes for Gen 8 anime, I just really hope that the story follows the game more closely. This is something that I've always had gripes with about Pokemon. Well, I've had two gripes about it. First of all is pacing. Pacing is something they never seem to get right, no matter what generation we're talking about. But the other big thing is continuity with the games. They follow the games to a certain extent, but when we get to like the darker aspects of the game, they either water it down or they don't include it at all, and that's always something that irritated me. So I guess the third thing, John, would be game continuity. Just a little bit more of that in the series I think would be really, really good. And I think the success of things like Pokemon Generations prove that that is possible. I mean, you can do it. And it would be still mostly kid-friendly, but still have a bit of an adult tone that would allow the older fans like myself to really, really enjoy it. So maybe like a hybrid of Pokemon Generations and the Pokemon anime. Kind of throw them in a blender together. And yeah, that would pretty much be my third thing for that. Okay, John, your second question is, what are the top 5 features I want to see come back for Gen 8? First of all, I want to see character customization. That's my favorite feature within the games. I want to see that for Gen 8. The other one would, and this was something else that I would pitch, and now that they've got a bigger software platform within the Switch to do it, I would really think this could be possible if it's done correctly. Give me the trials. I mean, the trials, they were nice. They were a nice change of pace. They were different. What I've always advocated would be awesome is if Pokemon could figure out how to put like an option in there to where I could go through and do the trial, or I can click this and I go in and I do the gym battles. If they could figure out a way to make that work on the bigger Switch platform, I would be all for that, and that would be something that I'd want to see. The trials, I do want to see come back, but maybe not as heavily emphasized. Maybe just do them as a side feature. But the trials, again, from Sun and Moon were something that I would really, really like to see. Okay, the third one. To be honest with you, John, those are really the only two things I have off the top of my head right now. The ride Pokemon, I guess, would be okay. But yeah, as far as Gen 8 right now, I'm not getting too ahead of myself. But those are two things that undebatably I want to see. The Pokemon ride thing could definitely be a third. But those are the three things that are topping my list right now. Okay, so anyway, with that, I hope that answered your question. kind of answered it, although I didn't have enough features to want to do that. Again, I just want something a little bit different, but if I had to pick features that had to stay non-debatable, those would be them. Okay, so your third question, John, what are the 5 characters I want to see in Smash Bros. Switch? I guess 5 characters I want to see. I definitely want to see my boy Donkey Kong. Love him in every Smash Bros. Game that we get. I would really like to see more of the Pokemon thrown into Smash Brothers. I know Greninja was thrown into the last one-ish. It was thrown in, but it wasn't emphasized. It was a Japan exclusive. I would like to see that. Boy, hard question here. Yeah. Smash Bros, I'm pretty much happy with whatever Smash Bros throws out. As far as like a party that I would pick, I would definitely go with the Greninja, Donkey Kong, Kirby, Mario, and probably a little bit, I'd shy more towards Zelda, probably Link. Yeah, you can't go wrong with the classics. I know there are all kinds of new ones they're touting to be thrown in there, but I'm one of those people. I'm a purist. You can't go wrong with the classics. So anyway, John, I hope that answered your question. Again, you kind of threw me for a loop there with some harder ones this early in the morning. But anyway, John, I hope I answered your questions. Thank you for liking and subscribing, and I hope you continue to bear with me. Okay, next up we have Waterkin, and you asked me 2 simple questions. What are my hopes and predictions for upcoming E3 in 2018? And then your second one is, what kind of genre of anime do you like / prefer if your viewers do not request that you watch it? Okay, so Waterkin, about E3, I just hope the E3 lives up to the hype that it's built. I'm excited for several things within this upcoming E3 that have been announced, and I just really hope it builds up to the hype that it's generating, unlike last year, where I did get hyped for several things, but then I played the actual games when they came out, and it's like, it's not as hype as I thought it was going to be. I really hope that doesn't happen again this year. So as far as hopes and predictions for upcoming E3, just really hoping it lives up to the hype it builds, unlike in years past. It really does look like it will this time. We shall see. Okay, and your second question, what kind of genre of anime do you like / prefer if your viewer does not request you to watch it? And it's complicated because I like the gambit, but I lean more towards the sci-fi genre. I really do like the sci-fi genre, and usually if it's sci-fi related, I usually don't have any quirks in it whatsoever. But yeah, as far as if I'm not recommended to watch it, I lean more towards the sci-fi types of animes. But anyway, Waterkin, I hope that answered your questions. Thank you for liking, subscribing, and bearing with me. And so, yeah, thank you very much. Okay, next up we have Jet Hawk. And I don't understand the first part of your question here, which might be a curious question. Nobody asked for who is the OC that appears in your discussion videos all the time. Not really sure what you mean by that. But anyway, you might have to clarify a little bit for me in the comment of this video so that I can kind of give you a little bit more of a question. Maybe help me understand it a little bit better so I know how to answer it. But anyway, that aside, you asked me 3 other questions. I'll go ahead and let you have these 3 since that one, I don't understand it at all. First off, if Serena returns in Sun and Moon, what type of episode you think if Ash compression to Serena be like? Again, not really sure what you mean by that. Like I said before, if Serena does return to Sun and Moon, I see it being at the very end, like right in the middle of Ash coming back to Kanto from Alola briefly. That would be how I would see her returning if she returns at all. And like I said in a previous answer, I think the last interaction these two had in Kalos would definitely be too big of an elephant in the room to ignore. So I think it would kind of be a little bit awkward there at first. And I kind of would like it to be a little bit awkward. It'd be a little bit relatable. But yeah, I think that it'd probably be awkward at first, but I think finally Ash and Serena would be able to talk about it and kind of go from there. I do think it would be an awkward episode regardless, and I'd kind of be hyped for that in my opinion. But anyway, I hope that answered your question. Okay. And your second question is, am I 100% sure if Team Rainbow Rocket and Team Skull, whoever the antagonist that is not Lusamine, is going to have a major role in the plot of the story of the anime? After watching the Ula Ula Island arc, I would not be surprised if Giovanni and Rainbow Team Rocket does end up being a thing. I'll be honest, it looks like Giovanni has a lot of interest in what's going on in Alola, and I really do think that might actually come to fruition. Whether it comes into fruition the way it did in the game, I don't think they'll follow it that far, but I do think that it could definitely be possible we could see something like that. And honestly, I'd be okay with that, because although I gripe on Black and White a lot as far as an anime overall, one thing I cannot deny is that Team Rocket was bad bleep in the Black and White anime, and I really would like Team Rocket to do stuff like that more often. So I'm not 100% sure. It's very unlikely that it would happen, especially in the game, or in the style it did in the game, but I could see it happening after watching the Ula Ula Island arc in Sun and Moon. So yeah, I do think they may have some kind of role in the plot. I think we may see more of it come when Necrozma shows up, because I do think the Ula Ula arc also emphasized that we would see Necrozma here before too long, because it actually discusses Necrozma and the lore behind him. So I do think if we finally get to that point where Necrozma shows up, I think we may actually end up seeing Rainbow Team Rocket. If not them, hopefully Team Skull. My boy Guzma needs to get in this anime. I'm just saying. Okay. And then your third and final question, Jethawk, is what are my favorite Pokemon that should have a Mega Evolution and Alola forms? So favorite Pokemon that should have an Alolan form, I kind of would like to see a possible Braixen Alola form. I would like to see maybe a Quilava Alolan form. Stuff like that. You know, Pokemon that aren't really real hyped in their own generations getting an Alolan form, I would support that. Those are two big ones off the top of my head that I would like to see an Alolan form for. As far as Mega Evolution, I would like to see something like a Mega Zygarde. That is one thing that I would love to see, and if we ever did get that, I would fangirl, and I will be honest with you guys, I would probably just jump up and down, start dancing around. If Zygarde got a Mega Evolution, that would be awesome. I know people have said maybe with the Gen 4 remakes they'd like to see like a Dialga or a Palkia or maybe even Arceus get a Mega Evolution. And I got to admit, that sounds pretty cool too. I'd love to see that. But I think more towards if the concept were to push it to that, I think we'd just see primal forms of them. I don't think we would see Mega Evolution forms. But again, that would be something really cool. Anyway, Zygarde is at the top of my list for who should have a Mega Evolution, but whether that happens or not, I don't think it will, but we'll see. So anyway, Jethawk, I hope that answered your questions, and again, thank you for liking, subscribing, and bearing with me. Okay, next up we have Sceptile the Hedgehog, and your three questions are, who are my favorite Yu-Gi-Oh! Female protagonists? Did you do something funny for April Fools, and what? And third is pizza or chocolate cake. Okay, so Sceptile, to answer your first question, favorite Yu-Gi-Oh! Female protagonist, it's a tie. I know people hate it when you say that it's a tie, but it legitimately is a tie. My two favorite Yu-Gi-Oh! Female protagonists are Akiza from 5Ds and Yuzu from Arc 5. It's a tie between those two. I know Yuzu kind of got the shaft in Arc 5. Her character wasn't nearly as fleshed out as it could have been, but it was taking steps in the right direction with Yuzu, and we actually had a Yu-Gi-Oh! Female protagonist that was just as big to the plot as the male, and that was something new for Yu-Gi-Oh! And that's probably why Yuzu holds a special place to where she ties with Akiza, who arguably is probably one of the most mature female Yu-Gi-Oh! Protagonists we've ever had. But yeah, so if you ask me who's my favorite Yu-Gi-Oh! Female protagonist, that would be my answer. A tie between Akiza and Yuzu. Okay, and did you do something funny for April Fools, and what? Now, I didn't for April Fools, but I did do something kind of funny on Halloween. And so you guys all know that I'm a paramedic, and when you're a paramedic, you have to have a dark sense of humor. You have to be able to make humor out of the most horrible things you possibly can in order to have this profession. And on Halloween, we actually, at the station, I showed up to work, and when the kids came out to the ambulances to get candy, I actually got out of the back of the rig, and I was dressed as the Grim Reaper, and I had the little scythe in my hand and the clipboard, and I'm like, okay, next. And it scared those little kids so much. I felt so bad at first. The teenagers thought that was awesome. But yeah, it's one of those things, because in EMS you make the joke, you race the Reaper. Well, the Reaper was in the back of that truck, and the Reaper came out and said, okay, next. My boss didn't think it was that funny, but even he was laughing a little bit at first, but then finally told me I had to can the act. Even though it was funny, he said, it was funny and good, just don't let me catch you doing that again. And he was trying to do that with the straightest face possible, although he failed miserably. He thought it was hilarious, and everybody else did too. But yeah, it wasn't for April Fools, but that was something funny that I did, and I would do it again if I had the chance, probably. Okay, and then your third and final question, pizza or chocolate cake? Pizza, no debate. So anyway, Sceptile the Hedgehog, I hope that answered your questions. Thank you for liking, subscribing, and bearing with me. Okay, next up we have Onion Bomb. And your 3 questions to me are, what kind of music do I listen to, if any at all? What is one thing you would change about the Sun and Moon anime? And 3, do I watch any sports? If so, what sports and what teams are you a fan of? Steelers Nation over here. Okay, so to answer your first question, Onion Bomb, what kind of music do I listen to? I like either rock or the old style country, like the Johnny Cash kind of country, not this new stuff that they've got now that's more rap and pop and ugh. That's not country music in my opinion. I'm a Johnny Cash guy, and I also do listen to rock as far as rock goes. Some of the bands I listen to, it ranges from everything. I like Disturbed. Five Finger Death Punch is another favorite one of my bands. Shinedown, Nickelback. I'm a big rock fan, but if I have to listen to country, it's got to be the old country, because that's the only kind of country music. Johnny Cash fan all the way, big fan of the Man in Black. Okay, so your second question, Onion Bomb, what is one thing I would change about the Sun and Moon anime? I only get one. That kind of sums it up. I only get one. Well, if I only get one, the one thing I would change about the Sun and Moon anime is drop the school thing. I don't understand why they took like the most minuscule thing in the game they possibly could have and focused the entire anime around it. I actually think the school thing, the insistence that they do it that way, is holding the anime back to the point where it's basically, this is what we want you to enjoy, so you're going to enjoy it, and they're shoving it down your throat. I really do think it's holding it back. That is the one thing, if I only get one thing to change, that would be the one thing I would change. Drop the school subject. Okay, so your third question, do I watch any sports? If so, what sports and what teams am I a fan of? I'm a football fan. Being from Illinois, got to go with the Bears. Favorite football team. I do watch basketball too. Again, Illinois fan. I'm a fan of Chicago. And hockey. I'm a hockey fan. Ironically, most of my favorite hockey teams are out west. Big Anaheim Ducks fan. The Golden Kings out in L.A. Yeah. hockey fan. And ironically, my favorite hockey teams are out on the West Coast where it never ices out there. I've never understood that, but yeah. So anyway, hockey, basketball, and football. I'm a little bit of a baseball guy. I do watch a little bit of baseball. Favorite baseball team, again, Chicago guy, White Sox. Cubs can't stand. White Sox all the way. So anyway, Onion Bomb, I hope that answered your questions, and thank you for liking, subscribing, and bearing with me. Okay, next up is Minor Mole. Before you start with your questions, you see that I'm almost at 3,000 subs. Thank you for that. Still unbelievable that I've gotten that far. But anyway, your 3 questions are as followed. Have I played a game from the Earthbound/Mother series? If not, you should play them. If you have, I would like to hear what you have to say about them. 2, it's been a long time since I probably heard your opinion or opinions, and opinions can and do change. So here's my question. What is currently your favorite Pokemon generation? And 3rd, for the Pokemon Switch games, let's go Pikachu and Eevee. Who do you think the new Pokemon will be? I am leaning more towards Gorshu. Now, to answer your first question, have I played the Earthbound Mother series? I've played a little bit of it. But not nearly enough to have an opinion on it. From the little bit I did play, I was having fun and enjoyed it, but I have not played it to the extent to where I could give a proper opinion. But the little bit I did play, I did find very enjoyable. Your second question about my opinion on what is my favorite Pokemon generation. If we're talking about the anime, it goes to Gen 6 without question. X, Y, and Z. If we're talking about anime, got to go to Gen 6, no question. If we're talking about games, however, and just the games, the anime factor, not a factor at all, and we're just talking the games, it's got to go to Sun and Moon and Ultra Sun and Moon. This is the weird paradox that Pokemon has found itself in. When the games are great and really good, the anime, pardon my French, typically sucks. But when the games are a little bit lackluster and they leave a lot to be desired, the anime is usually one of the best ones we ever get. And that was blindingly obvious when we got XY and XY and Z. Anime did so remarkably well, even though the games were kind of subpar. And then when we got Black and White, or Sun and Moon and Ultra Sun and Moon, the games rocked. The games were arguably the best the franchise has ever come out with. And the animes, well, yeah. That's pretty much all I have to say. So, anime, XY, and Z, no question. Games, definitely got to be Sun and Moon, Ultra Sun and Moon. And then your third question for the Pokemon Switch games, who do I think the new Pokemon will be? I don't have an opinion on that. And I'm kind of keeping myself from speculating on it because I just want it to be a surprise when I get the game, or when the game reviews start coming out, and it's going to ruin it anyway. But I want to stay as optimistic as possible, so I don't even bother speculating about it. So I really can't answer that question, Minor Mole, and I do apologize for that. But thank you for liking and subscribing and bearing with me. Okay, our last set of questions for this video come to us from Powerhouse. And your questions are, number 1, other than Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, and SAO, what is your favorite anime? 2, and you asked me way more than 3, Powerhouse, so I'm only going to answer your first 3, and again, I apologize for that. Between Lycanroc Dawn form and Dusk form, from which of one do I think would be better for Olivia, because I can't decide? And your third one that says, if, and I mean if, Ash and Serena finally had children in the anime and they became the new protagonist, I'm assuming that's what you mean. I mean, what name would they be given? A guy can dream, can't he? So, to answer your first question, other than Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, and SAO, those are the 3 bread and butters. Those are the bread and butters. They're the ones that I watch on a frequent basis. And I was going to save this until I did my overall anime review. But another anime that, I don't know why, it piqued my curiosity so much when I watched it. The Familiar of Zero. Now, I had seen people talk about it on Twitter. Junior Lopez was the big one that was talking about it at the time. I'm like, okay, you found an anime, great, good for you. But I went to work one day, and one of my friends who I went to high school with was actually watching it, and he told me that I needed to watch it. He figured I would enjoy it because I was and I still am a big Harry Potter fan. I like the sci-fi genre to an extent, and of course, I'm a big Dragon fan. He said, "You'll love this series." I'm like, I don't know. So I caved. I said, "All right, fine, I'll watch it." And I'll be honest, about 1 minute in, opening, like, I'm gonna hate this series. This series is, what the heck is this? But although skeptical of the openings, I knuckled through it. I watched all 4 seasons. And I gotta say, although I'm not a big fan of the harem thing as a whole, and the opening and endings for this series were annoying as heck to me, and they were an immediate, I'm out of here, the episodes and the series as a whole weren't that bad. I'm a big fan of the medieval genre. I like the magic genre. I like those kinds of things. And this anime had it. It was really enjoyable. And I found myself at some point, through the arcs, especially the last one there with the ancient dragon. And at the end, that was a really nice touch at the end. But yeah, the series stories as a whole, I really enjoyed. Although I could have really not cared less about the whole harem thing or the openings. They were big turnoffs. But overall, as a series, I did enjoy it, and I've actually found myself going back and rewatching it. Even knuckling through the openings, which I couldn't stand, and the whole harem thing, those were things I kind of looked away from. Although they do add nice comedic moments to them too, I guess. Overall, as a series, it was pretty good. Okay, so I hope that answered your first question, Powerhouse. Again, I was going to wait and answer that in my anime review thing, but why not share it now? Because you asked. Okay, your second question, between Lycanroc Dawn form and Dusk form, which one do you think is the best for Olivia? The one she's got, the midday form. I think the one that they put Olivia with in the anime and in the games suits her to a T. I think that the midday, or the, not the midday, the Dusk form, I think they did really good pairing that with Ash. I think it's a good fit, just as I think the Midnight form is a good fit for Gladion. I do think the 3 versions of Lycanroc that they've spread out in the animes are good fits for the people that already have them. And in the game world, I know Ash ain't a factor, but in the game world, again, they did the right matching with these different forms of Lycanroc, in my opinion. Giving the hero the Dusk form, or the Twilight form, giving the night or the midnight form to Gladion, and the midday form to Olivia. I think throughout all 3, they got the right fits. Okay, and your third one is if, and I mean if, Ash and Serena, it's a far-off dream. It's a far-off dream that I really wish they would do, because I've always advocated this since the end of the Advanced Generation. They really needed to get Ash out of the picture. I think Ash is one of those things where it's like, it's been 20 years, and I get it, it's your thing, it's what you're known for, but still, after so long, a character goes stale. And I think that's one of the reasons why Yu-Gi-Oh! Has piqued more interest and kept more of its original fan base than Pokemon has, because they came out at the same time, but Yu-Gi-Oh! Was able to keep their original fan base mostly intact, because at the end of each generation they would recycle and they would go on to a new protagonist and make it feel like a new series, make it feel fresh, make it feel new. Pokemon just didn't really do that. And if they were to do that, I think it would ultimately have to be ending with Ash and Serena. I mean, the whole Amore shipping thing, there's no going back from that. The genie's out of the bottle, and I think if they ever do end Ash's journey, it's going to have to be with Serena at this point. As far as the latter part of your question, what names would they give them? I could only speculate. I know I'm partial to, especially in my fan fiction, as far as a girl, I'm shying more towards names like Sarah or Kate or Katie or something like that. As far as a boy, I couldn't even begin to speculate. Probably would end up being Satoshi II, probably, if I were to have a guess, but Again, that's just my speculation on that part. So anyway, Powerhouse, those are the answers to your allotted 3 questions. Again, I'm sorry I didn't answer them all, but I did say specifically only 3 per subscriber. So maybe hold on to those last 3, and I can answer those for you at the end of the year, unless, of course, things change. But anyway, as always, again, Powerhouse, thank you for liking, subscribing, and bearing with me. And thank you all for liking, subscribing, and bearing with me. Hard to believe this channel's almost at 3,000 subscribers. Hard to believe we were able to rebound, especially with the big loss of the Pokemon anime, the weekly Pokemon anime stuff. I don't know what's going on with Show Pro. Apparently somebody just got a bee up their bonnet, I guess. But, or it could just be they're protecting their new anime style, and they're trying to do that by squashing anybody that has anything to say about it. But again, I can only speculate. So anyway, that looks like that's all of your guys' questions. Again, thank you so much for 3,000 subscribers. Hard to believe it is the middle of 2018. And I look forward to answering the next batch of your guys' questions at the end of this year. Thank you for liking, subscribing, and bearing with me. And of course, supporting me on this channel and the backup channel. So, like I said before, glad I got a chance to answer your questions. I hope I answered them to the best extent I could. But as always, in the comment section down below, let me know what you guys thought of my answers to your questions. What are your guys' expectations for the future? Do you disagree with some of the things I've said? Do you have different opinions? Just let me know what your guys' thoughts are in the comment section down below, because as always, I enjoy hearing from you. All right, everyone. As always, Templar74 signing off. Have a great day, everybody. I'll talk to you all next time. Goodbye, everybody.